Good afternoon, YouTube. Oh, wait a second. I'm getting this thing and I have an error again. Do you guys see me? Because YouTube is telling me I have an error. I have a feeling it's still okay. All right, I'm Greg from GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. I'm just going to refresh this page and see if it does anything. Hang on one second, guys. I do a lot of tutoring for specialized tests, including the SHSAT. Somebody pinpointed this example to me, and it's actually one of the ones that's a mistake in the handbook. Let's just jump into this. This can be a lightning round today. It's pretty much the only example I'm going to do. Some of my streams earlier messed up. Okay, I see the video coming up now. We'll just jump into this. Just let me do a quick note before we get into solutions, that many problems have many solutions, and although I try to show all the different ways to do it that is at hand, at the end of the day, what matters is what you put down on your bubble sheet. So if you have alternate ways to do it, just absorb the other way I gave it to you and so, and just pat yourself on the back if you did it some other way. At the end of the day, this is not testing specific solution mechanisms. It's just testing solutions. So it's basically you can use anything you know up to grade 7 or 8, or even after that. Okay, there's some things that require. We had discussion at the last stream whether the quadratic equation is tested. No, it's not tested literally, but quadratics are on the test. So if you find a problem that could use the quadratic equation, then go ahead and use it. Okay, all right, so we've seen Till Libby Live. Let me get a scrap paper here. This is an example from the grade 9 SHSAT handbook for the 2019-20 year. It is page 219, okay? And it's question number 8. That's where we're gonna focus on here. Let me just make sure the stream is running. That's running. That's running. Is that running? Yeah. All right. And like I said, this is pretty much the only example we're going to do. So let me bring it up on my screen, the problem. So we have 2x minus 6 equals 8y minus 10. Normally, if we have space, we could just use what's written there. The handbook presents it, so you kind of really have to rewrite it yourselves. Some things you don't need to rewrite. In this case, you would. So don't make any errors. You have an x and a y. Make sure you're writing them clearly so that you don't get confused. There's also a second given, which is that x is greater than 5. So they're giving us something to solve. It's an algebraic thing, and they give us x greater than 5. And they're saying, what is the least possible integer value of y? They both face the word least, but even if they didn't, you have to be in the mode that on every question you have, including in the ELA, you're always looking for best, whether they say best in boldface, best in lower, not boldface, or no word best. And they're always looking for the least likely, the most likely, the greatest, the smallest. This is part of what your repertoire of test-taking skills are, is asking yourself, what exactly are they looking for here? Okay, so there's at least 3 solutions to this that I'm aware of. So let's just jump into some of them. One is to solve for x. So basically you want to say x equals somewhere at some point. All right, now that I wrote this down, let me just see that the stream is still going, because it's been up and down for me all day long. In fact, I've had some streams showing the wrong data. So something's going on with the YouTube network today. Hi, Leah. So let's solve for x. So we have to get x by itself. So we're going to get rid of unlike terms. So this is the x term over here. This one here. This is an x term. And this is just a constant. So we're going to add 6 to both sides. And we're going to get 2x equals 8y minus 4. Okay? So at this point, we can divide both sides by 2. And we get x equals 4y minus 2. Okay? So we have that. And the question is, what do we do with it? Well, let's drop down this criteria here. X is greater than 5. Okay? So if we made X 5, they want it for greater than 5, but let's keep it its minimum. So if we make it 5 equals 4y minus 2, if we then proceed, now that we're using the exact number, right, we're going to substitute that in there. We're going to keep going with by the way, sorry about this lot, but this is 4y. Okay, so we're going to add 2 to both sides. And we get 7 equals 4y. And then we're going to divide both sides by 4. And we're going to get 7/4 equals y. All right? So if we get back to the original problem, let me bring that up on my screen. 2x whatever, and what is the least possible integer value of y? So this is the same as 1 3/4, right? But they want it as an integer. So you're going to bump it up 1. It can't be 1 because it's higher. Right? And the point is, by the way, also, that x was actually greater than 5. We use x being 5. So it means that y can be actually greater than 1 3/4 anyway, even if it was a non-integer solution. If they just said, what's the answer? It would have to be y is greater than 1 3/4. Because we use x equal to 5, but x is greater than 5. Okay? So the answer has to be greater. And then they asked for an integer value. So the least integer it could be has to be 2. Because if it's 1, then x is going to be less than 5. Okay? You should be able to figure that out. And by the way, that's one of the issues of one of the choices here. So, so there you go. That's 2. So how about we confirm the answer? Let me see if I can squish it on this side. Let me start over here. So I'm going to rewrite the problem that we have 2x minus 6 equals 8y minus 10. And now I'm going to solve for y instead of x. So we're going to add 10 to both sides. So we get 2x plus 4 equals 8y. All right? I'm going to divide both sides. If I divide by 8, I'm going to start getting ugly stuff, ugly fractions. All right? So I just want to keep things as normal numbers as long as I can. By the way, it's not just for this problem, it's for all problems. So especially if I solve this already, I have a little insight about what the solution is going to be. But even if I started from scratch for here, I'm just going to divide both sides by 2, because that's a multiple of 2, 4, and 8. Okay? And this is the same as 2x over 2 plus 4 over 2. So we could do that straight up. And this is obviously 4y. Right? Everybody has to know you can divide this here, because if I had the 2 of these, I can merge them with the same denominator. So I get x plus 2 equals 4x. Did I do that right? Yeah. And then if we go back to the x greater than 5 stuff, well, if we put in the 5 here, we get 5 plus 2 equals to 4y. And we get 7 equals to 4y. Divide both sides by the 4. And we go back to the 7/4 equals y. And since x had to be greater, then y has to be also, again, greater than the 7/4. All right? And we could have stuck the inequality in from the beginning, even in both of these cases. I just avoid that in a case like this, because if you keep track of the x greater than 5, you're clean on it. Okay? So, yeah, today this is the only example we're going to do. What happened to y? Where are we on this one? Somehow it got lost for you? We're going to solve for y over here. Is it not showing on the screen? Is that better? Yeah, sorry. All right, I thought I dragged that over completely. So let me just run through it again. We have 2x minus 6 is 8y minus that. We're going to add 10 to both sides to get y by itself. So we get 2x plus 4 equals 8y. I just tried to simplify it. So I'm just going to divide both sides by 2. So I get x plus 2 equals 4y, which is down here. And now I'm just going to substitute the 5 in at this point. And we get back to the same things going back in here. So we have 2 ways to solve it. It's just a matter of, so there's two kind of constraints here. The first is the least possible integer in the question. Like, what are they talking about there? Okay? And the second is that maintaining the integrity of the x greater than 5 through the whole problem. There is a third solution related to these two of them, which actually is a broken solution, but I'll show it to you guys anyway. And there's also a fourth solution. I said originally there was 3, but there's the obvious one. So if it says x greater than 5, it's easy to think, well, why don't we just make x 6? Okay, so let's do that. So we have 2 times 6 minus 6 equals 8y minus 10, right? So we get 12 minus 6, and that's 6. So we get 6 equals 8y minus 10. And if we add 10 to both sides, we get 16 equals 8y, and then 2 equals y. All right? So we end up getting the same answer here, a lot more smoother. But there's a problem with getting it this way. The problem is we moved 5 to 6. And the question said that y was the least possible integer. It didn't say x had to be an integer. It only said y had to be 1. So we ended up getting that. But what if x was actually ended up being something like 5.5? Okay? Whereas we got lucky that the answer was 2 in this case. But if the answer was 9 or something, that would be a mistake to have done this. Does that make sense to you guys who are watching? I see a bunch of live people out there. It didn't say x was an integer. It just said it was greater than 5. So it could be 5.00001, or it could be 99. We don't know. So it's easy to think, oh, well, let's just bump 5 up to the next integer 6. So that happened to work and gave us the same answer. But if 5 was something like 5.1, then it could have given us 2, and that may have been the answer. Okay? So we don't know. So be careful on something like this. So in a way, this is an awkward double check by doing it this way, by bumping this up. Okay? At best, this happened to mesh equal, but it'll also give us something close to the lowest number. All right? So that said, the next way to do it is the obvious way. Let me get another blank piece of paper here. Which is brute force. So if we have 2x minus 6 equals 8y minus 10, okay? And it's giving us the x greater than 5. And the answers A, B, C, D are not x's, they're y's. So let's just try them one at a time. So we get 2 times 1 minus 6. So we get 3 minus 6, right? Did I do that right? 2. So we get minus 3 equals 8y minus 10, right? Let me see if I did that. Something tells me I did that wrong. 2 times, no, yeah, I did do that wrong. I'm filling an x. We're supposed to be filling an y. 2x minus 6 equals, so be careful, guys, 8y minus 10. So A says that y is 1. So we have 8 times 1 minus 10. So we get 8 minus 10, and we get minus 2. So we have 2x minus 6 equals minus 2. Add 6 to each side. We get 2x equals 4, and x equals 2 here, if I did that right. So this is saying x2. So it's telling us the answer is B. The answer is B if I did it right. So this x is too small if y is 1. So now let's try it with 2x minus 6 equals 8y minus 10. If we try B, which gives us 8 times 2 minus 10, so we get 16 minus 10, or 6, we get 2y minus 6 equals that, right? Sorry, 2x. So if we add 6 to both sides, we get 2x equals 12, okay? And then x equals 6. So here we've confirmed now x is greater than 5. All right? And this is your double check. even if you got the right answer through the other two mechanisms, you would stick this back in here because we want to make sure that x is greater than 5. So here we've confirmed this is the case. And of course, you don't normally stop there. You should run your other checks. So we have 2x minus 6 equals 8y minus 10. So if y is 3, right, we get 24 minus 10, we get 14. And we have 2x minus 6 equals 14. Okay, so we add 6. So we get 2x equals 20 and x equals 10. So that jives. It shows us that y is too large at this point, but it's still jiving that x is greater than here. So it's an indirect confirmation. And then the last one is going to be 2x minus 6 equals 8y minus 10. And if we use 6, we get 48 minus 10, and we get 38. Am I doing this right? So we have 2x minus 6 equals 38. And then if we add 6 to both sides, we get 2x equals, 44? And then x equals 22. So it's confirming it. By the way, this is the danger in it. So we have 22. What did I get here? 10, 6, and 2. So x leaps for every time y goes up 1 or a couple, x will leap as well. So anyway, this all confirms that y was 2. Okay, so so there's 2 reasons why this is a problem. One is that it is kind of a confusing question because of the x greater than 5 and because of the least possible integer value of y. But there's a gotcha that the SHSAT book handwriters did, which is that they made a mistake in the answer. So if we come here where it says solve for x, and by the way, the SHSAT handbook only presents one solution. I like to do alternate solutions, but it's not a requirement, which is what I started out by saying in the original place. So it says solve for x. Let me just make sure this is on your guys' screens correctly. Yeah, it is. Okay. Give me 1 second. I just want to see where we're at here. Okay. So the SHSAT handbook has the x equals 4y minus 2. I think that's what I started out for. And then it says, since x is greater than 5, then, and then there's a big mess there. It says 4y minus 2. Let me write it out so you guys are clear. 4y minus 2 greater than 5y greater than 7/4 or 1.75, which at this point is just gobbledygook. So then it says, and then it gives you the gobbledygook, and then it says since y is an integer, therefore the least possible integer value of y is 2. And what was supposed to happen here, let me bring this back to the stream. Okay, there is actually supposed to be a blank line or something right there. So we're supposed to get the 4y minus 2 greater than x. Remember before I said I used equal signs, but I like to put it at the end? Well, you can put it in during the whole process as well. So this was not 5y. It was 4y minus 2 greater than 5. That's the end of it. And then they got the solution. Their solution after they solved this was this, that y is greater than 7/4. That's the answer. And that's how they got the 2. If it's greater than 7/4, it's got to be 2. That's the next highest up integer. So there's a screw up in the handbook. There's a few screw ups like this. I can't remember off the top of the head where the other ones are, but I noted them somewhere. So every kid trying to solve this problem, even if you get it right, you're going to look at the answer and go, what is going on here? What on earth is going on here? And that's what it is. There's a stop right here, but they put the 5y together. It's not supposed to be. So that's no go. All right? So, anybody have any questions about this exact problem? Because I'm gonna skip town at this point. If not, again, I'm Greg from GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. Please like, please sub. You can email me at the email path at the bottom, GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. about any of your tutoring questions, your tutoring requirements. I tutor for a whole bunch of different standardized tests and also not standardized tests. I can also do things like homework help and so on. And also in helping people select middle schools, select high schools, things like that. Even in some cases select college, pretty much across the board. But I like to focus on specialized tests because they're kind of unique and they have their own concerns. And this is something that's often not done in the classroom. All right? Yeah. All right? So everybody have a great day and peace out.